Welcome to the Deep Dive podcast channel. Have you ever, achieved something big, something you thought would make you really happy, like a major goal? And then, well, you felt surprisingly little, maybe even a bit empty.
That experience is actually quite common.
Today, we're going to dig into that gap, the space between what society tells us success is and what genuinely feels like success deep down.
It's about understanding why chasing those external markers, the job title, the salary, the perfect image, can sometimes leave us feeling hollow.
Right. And more importantly, how we can start to define success in a way that actually nourishes us, that feels right for us.
It's a crucial conversation. We're surrounded by these really specific images of what a successful life is supposed to look like, aren't we?
Totally. They're everywhere.
And it's incredibly easy to absorb those messages, to internalize them and think, okay, that's my goal too. But as we'll explore, that kind of external validation, it often has a limited shelf life. It doesn't always connect with our deeper core needs.
Absolutely. You see it all the time, the glossy magazines, the perfect LinkedIn updates, those carefully curated Instagram feeds.
The highlight reel.
Exactly. And it's natural to look at that and think, yeah, that's what I should be aiming for. But what if that picture, even though it looks great, just isn't your picture? What if the frame doesn't really fit who you are inside?
That's the core of it, isn't it?
That's what we're diving into today. This feeling of achieving what looks like success from the outside, but still feeling tired, maybe disconnected, just fundamentally misaligned. And hey, if this is striking a chord with you, we'd love it if you subscribe so you don't miss out on future deep dives like this. And please feel free to leave a comment. We genuinely want to hear your thoughts on this.
That sense of misalignment you mentioned, it often comes from being conditioned, really, to perform success, to demonstrate it, rather than cultivate a genuine internal sense of fulfillment.
Perform success. That's interesting.
Yeah. Think about it. From quite early on, we get messages, some subtle, some not so subtle, about productivity, climbing the ladder, getting that prestige. And in many cultures, unfortunately, your inherent worth can get tangled up with your accomplishments. What you do becomes who you are.
It feels like we're constantly auditioning, doesn't it? Trying to fit into a role defined by someone else, playing out a version of success that isn't truly ours. And when we prioritize that external nod of approval over our own inner voice, our internal compass, well, that can lead to what some call emotional exile.
Emotional exile, that's a powerful term.
Isn't it? Like you're living a life that feels foreign to your actual self, and the consequences, they can be pretty significant. We see burnout, for example.
Oh, absolutely, burnout.
And not just being tired. It's that deep, pervasive exhaustion.
Right.
A depletion of your mental reserves.
From constantly striving without that feeling of genuine reward or wholeness.
Yeah, and disconnection, too.
Definitely. A fracturing, almost. You can feel disconnected from your own values, from the people who really see you and matter to you, and ultimately disconnected from yourself. When the main goal is projecting that successful image, the softer, more vulnerable, authentic parts of you, they tend to get pushed down.
That makes sense. And does perfectionism fit in here too?
It often does. This relentless drive, this feeling that nothing is ever quite good enough, no matter what you achieve, it's exhausting.
And I imagine that can lead to shame as well. Feeling bad about feeling bad, especially when things look good on paper.
Precisely. That deep sense of shame, feeling miserable or unfulfilled, even when you've checked all the supposed success boxes. But here's the crucial thing. If you recognize yourself in this, it doesn't mean you're broken or failing.
Right.
It might actually be a sign that you're, waking up. A signal that it's time to pause and really ask yourself what success truly means for you.
Okay, let's break down some of those common external markers. The ones society uses to measure success.
Good idea.
There's money, obviously. The idea that more is always better, that it equals happiness.
The dominant narrative, for sure.
Then career, that constant upward climb, right? Getting the next promotion, the more impressive title.
Always moving up, never standing still.
And appearance. The pressure to look fit, fashionable, flawless, often filtered, totally unrealistic.
The curated self.
Productivity is a big one too. Tying your worth directly to how much you produce, how much you get done.
Your value equals your output.
And finally, status. Being admired, maybe even envied, respected by others.
These metrics are incredibly seductive, aren't they? Because they're visible. You can track them. You can compare them.
Yeah, that comparison trap.
Exactly. They tap right into that social comparison instinct we all have. But that's also why they can be so detrimental to our inner well-being. They pull our focus outward, constantly seeking that sums up from others instead of cultivating our own internal sense of worth.
And that outward focus, that leads to what you call performative living.
Yes. Making choices based on how they'll look, how they'll be perceived, rather than what genuinely aligns with your own internal values, your true desires.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about feeling obligated to take that promotion even though your gut is screaming it'll burn you out.
Right, because it looks good.
Or that underlying anxiety about slowing down. The fear that people will see it as, I don't know, lacking ambition or even failing somehow.
Yeah, that pressure to constantly keep up, to not fall behind some invisible standard.
And these patterns, this performative thinking, it gets reinforced, doesn't it? By societal structures like capitalism's emphasis on endless growth, by cultural ideals around perfectionism.
And maybe even our past experiences, like trauma.
Absolutely. Trauma can play a significant role, which we can definitely delve into more. But over time, living this way, constantly looking outside for approval, it can really erode your connection to yourself. You lose touch with that inner compass.
It makes me think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the pyramid.
Foundational needs at the bottom, self-actualization at the top.
It seems like we often chase the appearance of that top level. The success, the prestige, the creative wins.
While neglecting the base.
Exactly. Things like feeling emotionally safe, having real belonging, being able to express yourself authentically, even just basic rest.
You've hit on a critical point. Genuine self-actualization, becoming your fullest self, it's just not possible if your nervous system is constantly in survival mode because those fundamental needs aren't met.
So, external success without that inner safety.
Right.
It's unstable.
It's unsustainable. It lacks a solid foundation. Success that isn't built on well-being and a sense of safety. Ultimately, it can even be harmful.
Okay, so underlying all this is our need for validation, right? That basic human need to feel seen, valued, affirmed.
Fundamental. We all have it.
And it seems like there are two main kinds, external and internal.
That's a great way to frame it. External validation comes from the outside applause, likes, promotions, praise. It feels good momentarily.
But it's fleeting and maybe addictive.
It can be, yes. You keep needing the next hit. Then there's internal validation,
Which is
rooted in self-trust, self-acceptance. It's that inner knowing that you acted with integrity, that you were true to yourself, regardless of external feedback.
like being able to say, I'm proud of how I handled that, or I know I'm trying my best.
Exactly. I'm proud of who I am becoming. Now, for someone with a history of trauma, especially relational trauma,
Yeah.
external validation might have been the only way they learned to feel safe or worthy, so they might understandably rely on it more heavily.
Which keeps those performative patterns going.
It can, yes, making it harder to develop that stable internal sense of self-worth.
Let's unpack that trauma layer a bit more. You mentioned it can amplify the stakes of succeeding.
It really can. If you grew up, consciously or unconsciously, learning that love or acceptance was conditional,
Conditional on what?
on achievements maybe, or looking a certain way, or behaving perfectly, pleasing others, this can lead people to adopt certain roles. The high achiever, the helper, the fixer, the star performer. These become strategies to earn that sense of worthiness, that feeling of belonging that might have felt precarious.
And underneath those roles.
Often, deep fears. Fear of being unseen, fear of being unworthy, fear of just not being enough.
Wow.
So for someone with that background, reclaiming their own definition of success involves, well, it involves grieving those old patterns.
Craving.
Yes, acknowledging them, understanding their origins, and gently starting to unlearn the belief that worth has to be constantly earned through external performance, cultivating inherent worthiness instead.
So what if we posed a radical question? What if success looked completely different?
I love that. Let's explore it.
What if it wasn't about the corner office or the big paycheck? What if success felt like feeling safe in your own body?
Powerful.
Or having actual time and energy for things that nourish you? Hobbies, connection, rest.
Quality of life.
Being loved and accepted for who you are, not just what you accomplish.
Unconditional positive regard.
Saying no when your body needs rest, without feeling guilty. Doing work that feels meaningful, even if it's quiet or unpaid or slow.
These are all examples of intrinsic success. Success defined from the inside out.
It often feels quieter, less flashy than the external kind.
It is. It's often found in those less visible moments, genuine connection, personal growth just for its own sake. And importantly, it usually starts with internal shifts.
Like what?
learning emotional regulation skills, maybe working on relational patterns, building self-trust, getting really clear on your core values.
Okay. So if someone listening feels ready to start exploring this, maybe redefining success for themselves,
Yeah.
what are some gentle ways to begin?
Some reflection questions can be helpful, but gently, as you say, especially if trauma is part of the picture.
What kind of questions?
Questions like, whose definition of success have I actually been following? Was it mine? My family's? Society's?
Okay.
What parts of myself have I had to silence or push down to keep up or achieve in that old way?
That's a deep one.
What makes me feel genuinely alive and energized, not just accomplished? When do I feel most at peace? And why? What's happening in those moments?
And maybe the big one.
Hmm.
What would success look and feel like if absolutely no one else ever knew about it? Just for me.
Exactly. The key is there are no wrong answers here. It's about uncovering your own undiscovered truths.
And as you reflect on that, maybe some mindset shifts start to emerge.
Often, yes. One big shift is from chasing more to focusing on meaning.
More versus meaning.
Instead of how can I get more, do more, have more, asking what truly matters most right now, what brings quality and presence to my life.
That feels like a huge shift away from just quantity and performance.
It is. Another shift is from hustle to harmony.
Hustle to harmony. Tell me more.
Contrasting that relentless productivity culture with, well, the healing power of living in better harmony with your own needs, particularly your nervous system. Recognizing rest not as a reward you earn, but as a fundamental right and requirement for well-being.
That's countercultural in many ways.
It definitely is. And a third shift, from comparison to connection.
Getting out of that scrolling and spiraling.
Precisely. Intentionally choosing authentic connection with yourself and others over getting stuck comparing your reality to someone else's curated highlights. Remembering success is ultimately a relationship with yourself, not a race against anyone else.
This redefined life, it sounds like a process, not an overnight switch.
Absolutely. It's a gradual returning to yourself. Sometimes it involves big external changes, leaving a job, changing relationship dynamics.
But sometimes it's smaller, more internal.
Often, yes. Setting a boundary. Prioritizing therapy over working late. Choosing connection over another obligation. Allowing yourself quiet time. These shifts might feel small, almost invisible to others, but they are incredibly powerful. They build that authentic foundation.
So the most powerful success, it's rooted inside.
Yep.
In authenticity, wellness, self-respect.
That's what makes it unshakable. It's yours. It doesn't depend on external circumstances or validation.
In this definition.
Yep.
It can change over time. It's not fixed.
Definitely not fixed. It's a living definition. It should evolve as you grow, heal, navigate transitions, maybe recover from trauma, or explore different parts of your identity.
So if what success means to you changes, that's not failure.
Not at all. It's freedom. It's growth. It's a sign you're becoming more aligned with who you truly are.
I love that framing. You are not behind. You are becoming.
Exactly. Hold on to that.
We've covered so much ground. Maybe we should tackle some common questions people have about this.
Sounds like a great idea. FAQs are always helpful.
Okay, first one. How can I actually tell if I'm chasing society's version of success instead of my own? What are the signs?
Well, a big clue is that feeling we talked about. Life looks good on paper, maybe even impressive to others, but inside you feel empty, dissatisfied, or just off.
The internal disconnect.
Yes, and checking in with your body is huge. Chronic fatigue, persistent anxiety, maybe even physical symptoms that don't have a clear medical cause. These can all be signals from your body that you're living out of alignment.
Okay, next question. What if redefining success means I have to make really big, scary life changes? Where do I even start?
That's a very real fear. The key is you don't have to blow up your whole life tomorrow. Start small.
A small how?
Pick one area where you feel the biggest gap between the external expectation and your internal truth. Maybe it's work, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's how you spend your free time. And just experiment with making one small shift towards more alignment in that one area. See how it feels. Often those small steps build confidence and clarity for bigger changes if they're needed.
That feels more manageable. Okay, we touched on trauma. Can you recap how trauma specifically affects how we define and chase success?
Sure. Trauma, especially early relational trauma, can wire us to equate external achievement with fundamental needs like love, safety, or acceptance.
Because maybe that's how you got those needs met, or tried to.
Exactly. So you might develop this intense drive to perform, to achieve, to please, to control outcomes, all as ways to subconsciously try and feel safe, worthy, or seen, based on those past experiences. It becomes a survival strategy disguised as ambition.
Right. Now, is it okay to still want some of those traditional things like money or a good career, even if I'm redefining success?
Absolutely. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting stability, financial security, or finding satisfaction in your work. Wanting to be recognized for your contributions is normal.
So what's the key difference?
It's the why. Are these desires coming from your genuine values? Do they contribute to your sense of well-being and meaning? Or are they primarily driven by needing external approval, keeping up appearances, or chasing someone else's definition? Motivation matters.
Got it. Can therapy help with this whole process?
Oh, definitely. Therapy, especially with a therapist who understands trauma and these kinds of systemic pressures, can be incredibly valuable. It provides a safe space to explore those ingrained beliefs and expectations, untangle them from past experiences, and really build that internal sense of worth that isn't dependent on external achievement.
Makes sense. Last question. What if I feel totally lost right now? Like, I know the old definition isn't working, but I have no idea what the new one is.
First, know that feeling lost in that in-between space is completely normal. It's actually part of the journey.
It doesn't feel great, though.
No, it often doesn't. So the advice is be patient with yourself. Be compassionate. This isn't a race. Stay curious. Gently explore what does resonate with you, even in small ways. What activities feel nourishing? What values feel true? Who makes you feel genuinely seen? Connect with those things, however small, and allow the clarity to emerge over time. Don't force it.
That's really helpful advice. Thank you. So the core message here seems to be, you don't owe society or anyone else a life filled with burnout, performance, or disconnection.
Not at all.
You have the power, the choice, to create a path defined by what truly matters to you by purpose, peace, and presence.
It's about reclaiming your definition.
We really encourage you, our listeners, to think about defining success by alignment, by love, by living honestly from the inside out. And maybe, just maybe, trust that that kind of success is more than enough. It's everything.
Beautifully put.